Welcome to the video. I'm going to be walking you through this brand new update to the Cubase Pro template for East West Hollywood Orchestra Diamond. For those of you that own the gold version, there will be an update coming soon. However, I will be just walking you through the changes in this video and not really necessarily giving you a tutorial of how the template works. So what's changed? First of all, inside of the instrument track folders, the black MIDI track dividers, which were used to divide up the different types of articulations, have been completely removed from the template. This is for two reasons. The first reason is it reduces the overall track count of the template, and also when you're using more advanced functions like the import tracks from project feature to say import a specific section of this library to a completely different project that you're working on, you'll no longer need to go through and uncheck all of those MIDI tracks. They're just not going to be there, so it just makes that process a little bit quicker and much less frustrating. Also, the other thing that has changed with the instrument tracks is the way that they've been named. We are still using the short-term codes for quick searching, so if I wanted to find the piccolo flutes, I could type in PF and it'll bring up all the piccolo flute patches, and I can just select what I want, enable it, and away we go. What's actually changed now is that the type of articulation has been made as the first word after the short search. So we see here that these are legatos, followed by longs, shorts, effects, and then at the bottom we have the key switches. And this type of hierarchy is exactly the same throughout the entire project. Every single folder will be arranged in this way. There are some exceptions with brass and some of the strings folders because they have additional patches like mutes, jazz, and effects. So you can see here in the brass we have longs, shorts, effects, and we have the jazz, and then it all makes sense basically. The other thing that's changed is the routing configuration. So for each instrument folder, all of the instrument tracks that are inside of it that make up the instrument, all the split articulations, have all been routed to their own subgroup. So if I'm in the mixer and I just want to work with the piccolo flute and just turn down the overall volume or process the piccolo flute, I can just come to the subgroup here in the mixer and work on it, which is much easier than trying to mix lots of individual articulation instrument tracks that have their own channels in the mixer. So a top tip from me is to actually go up to the filter channel types up here and just uncheck instrument tracks if you don't want to see them in the mixer, and only focus on the subgroups and the master groups. If you want to change the volumes for obviously the individual articulations for anything, you can always re-enable the instrument tracks, navigate to the channel in the mixer that you want to slightly tweak, and you can increase the volume, do whatever you like to it, and then uncheck this, and then you'll be having a much more simplified workflow. Now all of the subgroups can be found at the bottom of the template. Here you'll open up this folder, you can see all of the woodwinds. We also have the subgroup for the brass, so we can see all of the subgroups for the brass, all the different ones here, and it's all laid out in a logical way. It makes a lot of sense. And then by the time we get to the master groups here, these have been assigned to the right zone in the mixer. So if I want to control the entire section or do any processing to an entire section of the orchestra, I can do it from here. So we have the master group for the woodwinds, which I can raise the volume, lower it, automate it, add plugins, whatever I like. Same for brass, strings, and percussion. So we have the individual instrument control and we have the entire section control as well. And these are obviously all go to the master fader, these master groups here. And on the master fader, there is a limiter. It's purely there just to prevent clipping. You will definitely 100% need to change the settings for this throughout the duration of your project, especially for when you get to the mixing stage as well. The other thing that's been added in version 1.1 is the addition of track visibility configurations in the main project window. So in order to work with specific sections of the orchestra and completely hide all the other stuff you don't want to work with, we can come up to the configurations bar here and select things like woodwinds, brass, strings, and percussion, and it'll only show the instrument folders that we want to work with. Now, an additional tip to this, I've actually done a video on how you can create your own project logical editor macro that you can bind to any key on your keyboard. And what this effectively does is allow you to hide and show any disabled instrument tracks in your template. So let's pretend that we've already gone through and we've enabled a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to enable a couple of patches here. Let's just pretend I've enabled a lot of patches, but there's still, you know, a lot from this library that I'm not using because it's disabled. One thing that a lot of people find is that it can be very tedious scrolling up and down through endless folders to try and find the patches that you have enabled that you're working with. So this particular macro allows you to hide everything that you're not using. And when you click on it, it will only show you the instrument tracks which are enabled, and you can continue to work on them. And then if you suddenly feel like you need to, load another instrument track to work on, you can simply press the key command again. It will show everything in the template, and then you just select what you want, enable it, and hey presto, you can go back to hiding everything else and carrying on working. It's a much quicker and smoother way to work. As I say, there is a video on this. I'll put a link in the description, maybe also in the cards at the top, so you guys can watch that one. The other thing that's been added is for every single channel in the mixer for each instrument track, there's been a low cut filter added of 30 Hz. This is purely to prevent the accumulation of low end rumble and noise that you may find in various different libraries that sort of adds up throughout your signal chain. And by the time you get to your master fader, all of this low rumble and low noise can actually reduce the amount of dB that you can actually squeeze out of a mix, because it's adding just decibels of noise, and low end stuff tends to add a lot of rubbish that's takes away from the polish that you can probably squeeze out by the time you get to the master fader. So every single channel has got one of these 30 Hz filters on. Now, when you come to actually mixing with the template, you can fine tune this from the subgroup. So if I'm working on the piccolo flute, you can enable your high cut and low cut and just roll off the stuff that contains no information about the instrument. And this will really tighten up your mix and make things sit better because you haven't got all these clashing low frequencies on. And the other final reason why this has been applied is that your speakers, most people's speakers anyway, and headphones don't go below 30 or 32 Hz. So actually anything that lives below that number doesn't really need to exist inside of your mix. Finally, the other thing that has been included is the addition of track presets, which is something that was missing from the Diamond template. If I was to go to my user presets, track presets, and multi, I'll give you an example of how these work. I will show you how you go about getting these installed on your computer. It's a very easy process. So here, let's say I've got a complete blank project open and I just want to grab the brass out of Hollywood Orchestra. Let's say I just want the low brass. I can come over here, grab it, drag and drop it into my project, and it will load all of the instrument tracks disabled, ready for me to enable and work with. So I can quickly recall things while I'm in the middle of working and not have to worry about using track import. I can just grab stuff and chuck it in as I wish to build up my template. In order to get your track presets working, simply download your purchase, unzip the contents to your desired location. So here, I've done it to my desktop. Inside of this folder, you'll see two zip files. One for East West Hollywood Orchestra Diamond, which contains the templates and the track presets, and then one for Gold as well. You'll also have some update release notes to let you know the changes that have happened to the new Diamond template here. So you can see I've already unzipped the Diamond file, so I'm going to open this up. Inside, you'll see that we have our two project files for Cubase, our template project files, one of the original Diamond template and also the new version, which is version 1.1, and there'll also be a zip file of the track presets. Simply just extract those to wherever you like. I've done it to the folder here, and then all we're going to do, you can see these presets, is cut this folder by right clicking, go to cut, or you can press Ctrl and X on your keyboard, and we're going to paste this to a different location. So the location we want is on C, users, your username, Then go to App Data, Roaming, and we're going to click S on the keyboard to take us down towards Steinberg, and we're going to select this folder. And then inside the Steinberg folder, you'll see a bunch of different folders for Cubase, the various versions you have installed. But at the very bottom, you should see one that says Track Presets. Click on this, and then the folder we want to place our presets in is the multi folder. So I'm going to open this up, right click, and go to paste. Now, obviously I've already got these in the location. You won't get this little pop-up, it will just paste them here. And then the next time you start up Cubase in the media bay, if you go to user presets, track presets, and then multi, you will see all of your track presets in the drop-down list for Hollywood Orchestra Diamond. And it's as easy as that. So hopefully you found this video useful and you like some of the changes that have been made to the template. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching and thank you for your continued support.